Hey guys, happy Fire Friday to you. I'm so glad you're hanging out with us here on this Fire Friday. And as many of you already know, FIRE is FYR and it stands for Fund Your Reason. So our mission is to help you understand why you're here, right? What is your reason, maybe your big why, however you want to think about it. And then we want to help you fund that reason, especially utilizing the amazing platform at eXp Realty. And we're talking about revenue share, growth, and all that comes through serving other people, helping them think bigger and better. And I know you guys get tired of hearing my voice all the time. And so I go out there and bring in the people who inspire me, who I think are doing great things out in the industry and are super smart and fun. And I have one of my favorite folks who checks all those boxes here, Tony Caliendo. And Tony is amazing. We actually got a chance to hang out face to face together for a while out in Colorado recently, which is fun since he lives on the other side of the US for me. And Tony, you can see in the back there, incredible coach, helping people build amazing lives, building big businesses through reTHINK coaching. So, Tony, number one, welcome and thank you. Uh,
Thank you. Glad to be here.
tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how you got where you are and what you're doing.
Sure. So I started out pretty traditional career in the hotel industry. So I was at Marriott Hotels for about 14 years, was executive level with that, and decided my mom and dad were entrepreneurs, so it always was kind of scratching. And in 2001, I moved into real estate. So I got my license in 2001. I was in Dallas, Texas. Built a really successful team, sold my team in '09, went over to a franchise organization, was an investor. That's where I met Gene Frederick. And we grew a market center together. And then I went into coaching full time. So I've been coaching full time now for a little over 15 years. Um, and I just love every minute of it because I remember when I was in production, my timing was maybe not the best, right? '01,
Yeah.
March. Yeah, I got my license in March. Things were great. And then we had the horrible events of September 11th happen. And, I will say this, Dave, I was with a brokerage that had really strong mentors and coaches.
Mm.
And had it not been for them, I probably would have freaked out and not really known how to handle it. And while it's unfortunate what happened, clearly, what I learned from it is that you get to make the market. And
Mm.
it really started my quest for learning how to manage my mind and my thoughts. So anyway, that has become a huge part of my coaching through NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and I've gone on through many certifications through that. That's where I am now. Is that's really about mindset and business strategies together.
Love that. And, it's one of those things where, and I was just talking to a friend about this who's going through a rough time right now, um, and, dealing with big things. And, I've been learning and I've been through my own, challenges in life and craziness. And, you're being forged for something down the road that you don't know. But
Yes.
if you're an agent starting off in a tough part of, when the industry's different and tough and you maybe wish like, oh, couldn't it be like the old heyday or whatever? It's the
Right.
best thing that can ever happen to you because you're going to learn how to really do it. So when things are
Yes.
fine again, it's going to be easy street for you when everyone else is trying to figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. People ask me all the time, would you advise somebody to get into the industry now? And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you learn how to sell.
Yeah.
When you master this market, you can do anything. And
Right.
it's funny. I don't think it's a good market. I don't think it's a bad market. I think it's a funky market.
Mhm.
Uh,
So
in
nice.
all of my,
Yeah.
it's like this is a bit funky, and there's so much opportunity. So yeah, I agree with you. If you can master this, you got it.
Yeah. So how do you teach people to take advantage of getting it, like coming in at a funky market,
Yeah.
which is kind of like whether you're coming into a funky market as a realtor or you're looking to maybe break into agent attraction. I mean, that's both like
Yes.
uncomfortable and new. How do you start?
Number one is wrapping yourself around a positive mindset. And part of what I've noticed of late, which I love being able to share with you today, is becoming certain.
Mhm.
Certainty impacts everything that we do. And you think about it, if you went to a doctor and they're like, "Ooh, I'm not really sure."
Yeah.
Oh, could be, might be, I don't really know. And you felt that coming from them, you probably wouldn't stay in business with that physician or
Right.
car mechanic or whatever it is. And I believe right now, just because we have a lot of stuff coming at us at all times,
Mhm.
that it is eroding a little bit of our certainty if we don't control it. And, Dave, what I know is this is a fun statistic. We on average have about 60,000 thoughts a day.
Mm.
And out of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive. So when you just think about that statistic, you're kind of set up for failure if you don't do something different about it.
You're telling yourself the same garbage over and over again every day.
Correct.
Wow.
And so that's where reframing and getting to a place of certainty can really, help you out. And with the onset of internet and notifications and online news, and we're so, we're getting fed so much data that actually the stat now is showing 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day.
Wow.
And so when I first heard about 60,000 thoughts, I thought, okay, I'm kind of an average guy. There's no way I have 60,000 thoughts a day. I was like, I'm not that smart. But what you have to realize is if you've ever sat in silence, your mind's going, right? It's constantly, you don't shut off, thank God, or we die. But that's where the majority of the thoughts are happening. It's that projector in that movie that's playing in the background constantly. And that is feeding you some negativity. And people ask me, why does it do that? And this is what's really interesting. So, we've got three sections of our brain, but there's a section of our brain that's still the primitive section back in the day when we were in a cave, and if you stepped out of the cave, you might get killed. So it would do whatever it could to keep you safe. It views doing an activity that's new or that you might fail at equally as dangerous as being killed outside of the cave.
Mhm.
So it's creating a story and creating those negative thoughts to prevent you from taking action because it thinks it's protecting you.
Gotcha.
And so
Gotcha.
that's why, people ask me, gosh, that's kind of crummy that 80% of our thoughts are negative. Can we change it? And my answer is it is kind of crummy. It's just brains, the way the brain is. We still hold on to that primitive. Can I change it? No. But what I can do is choose how much time I spend in the 20% or how much time I spend in the 80.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
that's what we have control over. So that's really leads into the conversation today about certainty because that is, I have the privilege of talking to agents across the country, and that is the one thing that I'm noticing wanes a bit is that certainty piece of it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what drives action, right? I mean,
Correct.
it's that stepping off the curb, right, into
Yes.
traffic, which could be
Yes.
dangerous, and your brain wants to keep you on the sidewalk. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible because if you think about when you stop and are alone with your thoughts, or you wake up in the middle of the night and your brain's racing and you can't go back to sleep, like how often are you sitting there with your brain racing and you're going, oh, all of these wonderful things that are could happen, and you're not thinking of all those. It's always like I forgot to do this and I didn't do this, and tomorrow's going to be this, and right.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And it's funny because your little brain thinks it's protecting you, and in a way it is, but ultimately it is what's preventing you from taking action and moving forward. And, I think for myself, I always think about like your brain is creating little stories so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that today. Today's not a good day to do that. If you call that agent today, it's a Monday, it's a bad day. It's helping formulate a way that you can process the thought,
Hmm.
a story, whether it's recruiting, seller, buyer, or just in your relationship.
Yeah. And this is tied into, I guess, with your reticular activating system, right? The RAS,
Yes.
same deal. So, we've always heard about the RAS. Those people, have kind of heard about that, and you go, okay, you decide you want to buy really want to get a little red convertible. All of a sudden, you see little red convertibles all over the street where you didn't see them
Yes.
before, right? Because now you're thinking
Yeah.
about. So if you tune in, like your brain's going to do what it's going to do. You can't really change your body chemistry or what have you. That neurology. However, if the 20% is there, if you can train your brain to look for that 20% and recognize that they exist, then you see more of that. Would that be?
That's 100% correct. Yeah, you get what you go looking for, right?
Yeah.
I always say, what the saying is right, what you focus on expands.
Hmm.
And it's true. Wherever you give the energy is going to come back. So you do get to choose. And, one of the simplest exercises that I recommend doing is if you really are somewhat paralyzed by a negative thought or uncertainty, if you go back to 60,000 thoughts, 80% of the day, 95% are repetitive, right? Think
Hmm.
about the 95% repetitive. I always say, ask yourself these four questions. So if you're having a really disparaging thought or disempowering thought, and it's coming up over and over, is the thought true or is it just familiar?
Oh, okay.
Because, right, because we're running a loop, right? 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. So it could be pulling a negative thought that it's running over and over and over. So is the thought true or is it repetitive? 99.9999% of the time, the thought is not true.
Wow.
It's just not. It's familiar.
Hmm.
So then number two is, okay, what's the loop? What loop am I running? Okay, that's my fear loop. That's my brain trying to protect me. That's my anger loop. That's my, whatever emotion it is, that's the loop I'm running. So in an example, I'll give you, okay, that's my fear loop, right? You give power when you name something. So, okay, that's my fear loop. I know what it is. It's just, right, it's familiar. I do a little game then on the third one. I say, okay, little primitive brain, thank you. You're doing a great job. I appreciate you. I don't need you today because that thought's not true. It's a fear loop that I don't need. What you're trying to protect me from, I don't need to be protected from. It's not true.
Yeah.
So now what's the new thought I want to have?
Mm.
And
Okay.
that's where you now create the thought. So if the thought was uh, nobody's going to answer my call today, or an agent's going to hang up on me when I call to talk to them about EXP or whatever it is, or a seller's going to hang up on me that it wasn't expired, and I'm just going to be devastated, right? Well, that's not true. And not everybody's going to hang up on you, or nobody's buying, nobody's moving brokerages, whatever the thought is.
Hmm.
You, that's a common thought that's coming through. It's familiar. It's my fear loop of being rejected.
Right.
It's not true. So the new loop is people will be happy to hear from me.
Mm-hmm.
That's my new thought. And that changes your energy. It shifts everything that allows you to take action and get results.
That's awesome. Okay. So is it true or is it just familiar?
Yep.
Name the loop. Okay, which loop am I stuck in? And then what am I going to replace it with?
Correct. Because what's the truth, right? If that thought's not true, it's just familiar. It just means your brain's running that loop of negativity. The real thought is people will take my call.
Yeah.
Agents are moving brokerages. Sellers are selling. Whatever that new thought needs to be is where you take and claim your power. And now you're moving into the 20%.
Mm.
And to your earlier point, when I'm living in that space, everything feels much better because my RAS is looking for positive things.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
and energetically, you're going to attract in positive things.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's the big part.
Doors open for it.
Yes.
So, so how do you recognize, because certainty, and I want to dig into the power of bringing
Yep.
certainty into your life, but like how do you recognize if you're living in uncertainty? Like, how does somebody know if this is an issue for them or not?
Yeah, I think the number one thing about uncertainty is it causes resistance. You're resisting taking an action. It's going to disappoint some people as a coach, but 99% of the time, the client I'm working with knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not doing it. They're resisting it for some reason. So I would say, acknowledge when you experience resistance and reluctance. That's typically when we have some level of uncertainty. You may feel uneasy, same thing, right? You could be experiencing stress about an activity or a result. You could be worried and also lack of confidence. So those are some good signs.
Yeah.
Because Dave, think about it. Like ultimately, when we're looking for certainty, so certainty is part of our basic human needs. There's I focus on four of them: certainty, variety, significance, connection, and love. Those four really kind of drive the bus, and they happen on an unconscious level. I didn't wake up this morning. You probably didn't going, today I'm going to go find certainty. But your unconscious mind's looking for it. So when you're feeling uneasy, when you're feeling resistance, your little unconscious brain is struggling tremendously. And it's like, where's the certainty in all this? I don't have it. Therefore, I'm not going to take action.
Yeah.
And, certainty provides stability, predictability, assurance that we can avoid pain and experience comfort. So certainty does a bit, and it's the foundation that we have to take action. So that's how you know when you're lacking certainty.
Yeah. So what's the next step?
Okay, so embrace it, right? Because when we're certain, we make bolder decisions.
Hmm.
When
Okay.
I'm certain about something, I am very easy to say yes or no to. It's very bold.
Yeah.
Stress and fear come down, which is a beautiful place to be operating in, and we show up more powerfully. So that is really important to know that when you create that level of certainty, that those things are going to come with it. I'm going to be able to make better decisions. I'm not as clouded. I'm not guess second, should I, shouldn't I? Is that really the right thing? You're very congruent, and you can make the question a lot easier on yourself. So how do you create it? There's some really simple things. Knowledge is probably the number one way that you can create certainty. And just an example from a production perspective, and I ask clients this is when they enter into my schedule often is how often are you looking at MLS?
Yeah.
Right? Typical answer is when I take a listing to run comps or when I'm working with the buyer to run comps. It's our number one tool to create certainty in our life as an agent broker. We should be studying MLS every single day.
Otherwise, it's how they feel about the market, which may or
Correct.
may not be true.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or it's lag data, it's old data, right? Or it's whatever the news is providing for you to lean into. So, as an agent in production, the number one way that I will create certainty for myself is to study MLS every day. How many listings? How many are under contract? How many closed? How many withdrew? How many terminated? Price reduction, sales price versus list price. When I know that information and I can predict what's going to happen next, my certainty goes through the roof.
Hmm.
I show up on a listing appointment for a seller who is unrealistic. I have ammunition to have a really healthy conversation with them, and I can help them pick up certainty from me. So, number one is knowledge. Same thing if I'm recruiting or attracting an agent to EXP, I don't want to say, well, I think it's out. I think we've got something like that out in the world. Or, right? It's kind of like that doctor example. Do you know
Right,
how to
right, right.
use the stethoscope?
Sure, I'm
You,
sure we have something like that.
sure, we got it. We got everything, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So knowing your resources and studying them and being able to speak directly to them, that's the number one way that you're going to boost your certainty because, I think you've been in this for a while, like me. Pretty much every objection you get is the same. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's probably six or seven traditional objections that we get. And when you're certain, those objections are easy to handle.
Yeah.
Because, objection is just a need we haven't met yet. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And so gain knowledge, number one. Number two, if you want certainty and control your calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I know, like in my world, if you looked at my calendar, you'd be like, he really has that on his calendar? Yes, I do. I've got admin time on my calendar. I've got thinking time on my calendar. I've got the different things that I need to do throughout the day on my calendar because what happens is I'm doing an activity and uncertainty knocks on my door about an agent that I'm looking to bring over. I know at 1 o'clock I've got time scheduled for that. I now can get back to task at hand and I'm certain that that's going to be taken care of.
Yeah. That's the best
Right?
feeling.
It's so easy. The
It's like
calendar.
having a filing cabinet. It's like your desk can be a disaster, but if you have a really good filing cabinet that is labeled, then when you have your stuff, you have a place for it. The reason,
Yes.
before having systems, the reason I wouldn't put anything away is because I was afraid I would never see it again. Right.
Yeah.
So where do we go to find it? It's like you have all these piles. It's like, yeah, I know, but I know what you're looking for is the third pile over about four pieces of paper down, right?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
that was the system. Yeah, having it on the calendar when things come through, you slot it into place and then you keep on going.
You do. You feel really confident and comfortable with it. So, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, agents, recruiters got into this for freedom and flexibility. So we want to toss out calendar, but your calendar is really just your to-do list for the day with times assigned to it. That's it. It's not confining. It's helping you achieve the goal for the day. So that, and then, creating certainty in my life is beliefs, affirmations, and consistency. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot, affirmations do not work if your beliefs are not in alignment. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Say
if I sit there and
that
say,
one again.
yeah, yeah, I mean, the affirmations will not work if your beliefs aren't in alignment. They just won't. Because your brain's going, hey, Dave, that's real cute, right? Everybody loves me. Everyone's going to answer my call. That's a great affirmation, but I don't believe it.
Hmm.
I don't believe it. So you go ahead and say that to yourself. It's real fun. But the background movie that's running is preventing you from believing it. So if we go back to the four things, right? Is it true or familiar? A belief is just a thought.
Hmm.
So if my beliefs are not in alignment, I can quickly get them in alignment. And now the affirmations are way more powerful and they work.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're making it entrenched.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. And it's like I got a vision board off to my right over here in my office. And I believe every one of those things is possible. There are days when my thoughts get the best of me and I'm like, I don't know about that one thing.
Right.
And I just have to sit with it and work through it. But
Yeah.
getting those beliefs and thoughts in order, so that's how you create it. And then consistency. I have people ask me all the time. I have the privilege of coaching folks that are making 7+ figures,
Mm.
and they always want to know what's the secret? What's the secret?
Of
Like
course.
there's some big secret.
Give me yeah, like the silver bullet, the pill, red pill, blue pill, whatever. I'll take it.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, get ready, write it down because this is tough, and you're gonna have to take a lot of notes. It's consistency. That's it, and that builds certainty.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I can tell you, like Denise that I coach out in Aurora Hills, I can tell you where she is at 8 o'clock in the morning because she's consistent. I can tell you her schedule because she's consistent, which creates certainty and allows her to earn the income that she wants to earn. So those are really the four things on how you can create certainty for yourself. Your calendar, your beliefs, your affirmations, and consistency.
Yeah. I've heard it said that success at high levels is repetition of simple things. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes you have to embrace the repetitious boredom.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes it's not so sexy, but it gets the job done.
So I teach a class called the 4 Ps, all about it's a recruiting class about needs based analysis on agents and everything else. And part of it in asking all the questions, I said, I did over 8,000 one-on-one recruiting appointments, right? And so
Wow.
when I kept my notes and sorted things out because I wanted to be a student of the game and get better of it. And I'm like, here, I'm going to give you guys all the secret. It comes down to one of two things will be their major pain point, right? And it's either going to be time or knowledge. Time or
Mm.
knowledge. They always fit into one of those two categories. And right here, you're just talking about this going knowledge or basically time because it's calendar control, right?
Yes.
Having
Yep.
control of your time. And people are struggling in one or both of those two categories. The thing that's holding them back from success is always one of those two things.
That's brilliant, right? Because you discovered that through consistency. You discovered that
Right.
through how many 8,000
Yeah.
meetings, right? You're going to learn something.
Yeah.
And it was that showing up that allowed you to learn that. And knowing that, then knowing how to answer that or how to address those, you've just given the gift of certainty to the person you're talking to,
That's right. Yeah. It's a cheat
right?
code. You can go right to it. You're like, cool. I only need to ask a few questions now because I
Yeah.
just need to see which bucket you're going to fall into. Is your
Yes.
pain point going to be time or is it going to be knowledge? You've got the time, but you don't know what to do, or you know what to do, you just don't have the time to do it. Because I want to get quickly to solving your problem for you.
Yeah, 100%. And, Dave, the other thing too is, if, I think about like when I've been recruited or I'm talking to somebody about coming and joining, they're in a place of uncertainty. What's going to happen? How does this work? What's going to happen in my business? What are other people going to think? The whole, all of that. And when you can create certainty for them, just like you're creating it for yourself,
Hmm.
just like we make bolder decisions, guess what? They'll make a bolder decision. They'll make a quicker decision.
Yeah.
And the decision they make will be really solid. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, just thinking about that waterfall effect, right? So if you go through this for yourself, if you learn to go through this process, and this is a process where Like you said, most of the people that you're coaching know what to do. But when left to our own devices, we cut ourselves way too much slack, right? I mean,
Yes, we do.
it's both the accountability and the self-discovery that a coach guides you through. If someone tells you the answer, you're gonna go, uh-huh, but I'm gonna go. I mean, if you're pig-headed like I am, right? Really thick head, I'm gonna go, yeah, 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 but let me go make sure, right? I'm gonna go figure it out on my own. So, the coach asks the questions, you self-discover, it's way more powerful, whatever. Or you go, yeah, I know what to do. And they go, great. How did you do on doing that today? How did you do on doing it this week? Right. So
Yes.
get coached through the process. But as you do it, now all of a sudden there's I would say that maybe the next two steps would be as you do it and you start to get the results, you become more followable, right? Because now when you have certainty, same thing, you're going to go to the doctor who has certainty. You're going to go to the mechanic who has certainty. You're going to follow a leader who has certainty. It's I know the way out. I know where we are. I know where to go, and I'm not guessing. I have confidence. I've done this before. I know what needs to happen. And you go, great, I'm going with you. Let's go. Right. So now you
Yes.
become the person they want to follow. And then once you become the person they want to follow, then you help them gain certainty and then you increase their results, which is the whole point, whether it's a buyer or a seller or an agent. If helping people and helping them get the results they want is the goal, this is the process.
1000%. I think about going on a listing appointment or a recruiting appointment, right? Yeah, mind blown, right?
Right.
You know, I think back when I was in production, I didn't have a big fancy listing presented. I mean, it was back in the Stone Ages. We had pen and paper. And, I knew that other people were coming in and had a better presentation than I did, but I won nearly every time. And the reason I won is because I was certain. I knew my data, I knew my information, I could speak intelligently, I could predict where the market was going. And I would often ask somebody why they chose me over the other because I was very learning based. Like, why'd you choose to work with me?
Mhm.
And they said, we don't know why, but we felt very confident in your presence. And we knew that that would help us on our journey to either coming to, to list a house or whatever it was. And I think back to what you opened this with, you and I had a great visit with our friend Gene Frederick.
Mhm.
You know, back when I met Gene at 2009, I was leading a team. We were doing great stuff. We're crushing it in the industry. And enter Gene Frederick. I didn't know, the company. I didn't know anything about it. And I sat down and had a cup of coffee with Gene Frederick. And I would say today it was the best cup of coffee I ever had in my life. And I didn't know why, but I wanted to be in his presence.
Yeah.
I came home and was talking to Reagan about it, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I really feel confident about this guy. And best decision I ever made. If he would have been uncertain and not known a lot of answers, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I would have been on a completely different path. So yeah, to your point is you want to show up at a higher level, do these things.
Yeah. Gene's a great example of that because he does do the research. He's always, I mean, he's probably doing the same to you as he does to me. He's always sending articles and
Yes.
videos and everything else. He's like, look, and the fact that he's always sending those out means he's always, here's someone who is at such a high level of success, in the industry, has seen things ahead of others and has reaped the rewards for doing that, seeing it early, doing the hard work. But he saw it early, made a decision quickly because he had confidence, he had knowledge, he was always
Yes.
looking, researching. He'll tell you he's a retired bean counter.
Yep.
And right. And then he was decisive as a result. He got quick results. And because of that certainty, people followed him and got their chance to also build something great as a result of his certainty. And it's such a when I first met him, I was young and trying to figure out how to open up franchises, right? So
Yes.
I was in my 20s, get a franchise and trying to figure it out and going, I was struggling and flew down to Texas and went to a class that he taught and he showed how to do it. And it was kind of like I hoped that it could work, right? But I didn't have certainty that it could work. But that my brain was I was in my 80%. And so he just said, I know how to do this. This does work. And I kept flying down and him and Susan and learned from them. in that
Yeah.
process because of that certainty. And then you become committed to doing it.
100%. I mean, when COVID first was kind of brewing about back in whatever it was, 2020,
Hmm.
he's the first person I called. I'm like, what research do you have? What data? Like, as a coach, I needed to get my certainty in place because, I'd been through '01, been
Hmm.
through '08,
Yep.
and some of those PTSD stuff was coming back. And like, oh my God, are we going through that again? Which we all know was quite the opposite.
Mm.
But Gene Frederick, because of his level of certainty, was one of the first people I called. I'm like, I need 20 minutes. Of course, he's so generous with his time. He had data. I mean, he was just like a little Google machine. And I left the conversation feeling very confident. And because of it, our business grew over COVID, which in coaching world was a gift because a lot of stuff was happening.
Yep.
So it is to your point, like you show up in that level of confidence, people will find you. I always laugh when I'm talking to my agents. They're like, "Yeah, these people showed up out of the blue." No, 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 they
Hmm.
didn't. They did not show up out of the blue.
Yeah.
They showed up because of how you showed up. Energy attracts, right? Like begets like, energy attracts energy. So, um, Dave, one of the things we haven't talked about, and I think, I always like to have people have, what can I do? Like, this is great, but how do I take this to the next level and make sure that I am living in a place of certainty, right? We talked about becoming a student of the market, knowing your data and all that. But I
Hmm.
think it takes, one of my favorite mentors in the world had me build in an hour a day for thinking time.
Mm.
And what I've done with that is I spend every morning, now I've got higher level of certification than most in the NLP world, but I know that my thoughts and my beliefs are going to drive my level of certainty. So I spend every morning in my thoughts, and I just take out. I've got a couple journals. But I have a journal for thoughts,
Mm.
and I spend 10 minutes just dumping out every single thought I have, and I do it line by line. And
Okay.
it's really hard not to judge. Like, well, am I really? It's like, no, just write it down.
Good and bad. Good. Do you filter at all, or you just
I
throw?
just write it out.
Okay.
And what's interesting is 80/20. 80% are disempowering, 20% are empowering, negative, positive. And you would sit there and think, okay, you've had all this training. Couldn't you do a little bit better than that? No, because, it's just how the brain works. So I spend a lot of time with it. And what I've come to do with it is what are the one or two negative, disempowering the thoughts that are just kind of kicking me in the gut for the day?
Hmm.
And I run it through that model. Is it true or is it just familiar? What's the loop? I don't need that loop anymore because the thought's not true. What's the true thought? That is a game changer because that sets the tone for the rest of my day to be in the space of the 20% positive. I've taken that negative and I've flipped it to being what it needs to be to support me to move forward. So that would be the number one thing I would say if you're listening to this and you really want to embrace certainty, spend some time with your thoughts, run the model, true or familiar, the four questions, come up with a new thought, and that will impact your results. Thoughts drive all results, period. Thoughts, feelings, actions, results, they drive all results. You get a handle on that, your results will change.
Mm.
The other thing I would say is sit with what are you resisting? What do you know that you should do that you're not doing?
Mm.
And get really honest. It's only you. You're not going to fire yourself, although sometimes I think we should. You're not going to fire yourself, but sit in that moment and say, okay, what am I resisting and what is it? What is the thought I'm having or the feeling I'm having that's keeping me from taking action?
Mm.
And use the model again. Well, is that thought true or is it familiar? Clean it up. Once you do that and you start doing the research on all the tools we have in EXP, your MLS, all of the stuff that we have coming at us, you build out your calendar, you do the things to help, you will show up. Your energy will change, your shoulders will be up, you walk into a room with a little bit, more oomph behind you. If you really want to take this and implement it, if you just did those two things, it'll change everything.
Mm.
So sit with those for a while. I do it every day. People think I'm crazy, but I'm like, I know that my thoughts are impacting every single thing I do. And if I don't get a grip on it in the morning, the rest of my day is not going to be so great.
Yeah. Yeah. Love
Yeah,
that.
so that's what I would say to do.
I found that I wake up. I'm sure everybody's like this. Wake up every day, and the stuff is in there spinning, but there's, somewhere between 60 and 90,000 thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that
Yes.
ballpark, right? So you have that many things spinning in the back, and like certain ones of them are going to be the ones that spill over and fill up your brain capacity for the day, right?
Yes. Yep.
So if you do this every morning, then you get to decide which things get through the gate and fill up your brain for the day, right? Doing it in the morning
Yes.
because once it's in, it's in. It's kind of in for the rest of the day. Not that you can't undo it, but it's a lot harder once it's kind of entrenched for the day. So it's kind of,
Yes.
and I get up and like pray and meditate and do all that kind of stuff. I read a devotional. I set out kind of my intentions for the day. The days I don't do that are much sloppier than the days
Yes.
that I do, right? And they feel
Yes.
those are the days you get to the end of the day and you were busy all day, but you didn't get anything done.
Correct. Correct. I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful example of consistency, right? On the days that you do the morning routine, your day is more powerful.
Hmm.
The day that you're intentional about how you're going to show up, your day's more powerful.
Yeah.
And, for me, like when I wake up in the morning, as you know, I was up with Gene at 4:30 in the morning every morning and we started our chats. But I don't allow myself to get out of bed until I focus on three things that I'm grateful for.
I like that. I like that.
I lay there no matter how bad I have to go to the bathroom. I lay there until I can come up with those three things, and then I put my feet on the ground and start my day. And I go into the same type of what you just said. I have a very consistent morning routine, and there are days where something will happen that gets me out of that routine, and I'm off the entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it impacts my interaction and relationship with people.
Yeah. So apply that because you probably get, I mean, you have clients coming to you all the time and for coaching on various things for their production, they're building their business, recruiting, agent attraction. If they don't have a routine like that, then every day is a mad scramble without without that path, right?
Yes.
Without that focus.
Yeah. Yeah. I always ask the clients, like, are you that person that at 7 o'clock at night has your laptop with you working? Because if you are, you don't have a routine.
Hmm.
You're doing all this stuff that at 7 o'clock, you're like, crud, I didn't do that. I didn't do it. And you're doing it then in that moment.
Yeah.
But if you had the routine and you had the schedule and you were consistent in how you showed up, it's the best gift of freedom and flexibility. Reagan and I at night, we have really great time together because we've done what we need to do. You guys can have that in your family as well. And I think you do, is you can leave that all behind because you had a powerful day. And that to me is the best form of freedom and flex.
Yeah. Yeah. Kristen and I have created what we call Friday Fun Day. And and
Love it.
our Friday shuts off at 3 p.m. Right?
That's amazing.
Everything that's going to get done is done by Friday. And it's not that you never have to handle something on a weekend or an evening, but 9 times out of 10, Friday fun day, 3 o'clock, boom, it's done. And the work is done. We've got our structure, we've got our life, we've got the things that are important to us, and we love what we do, but I mean, what we do funds how we live.
Yes. Yes.
It's the tail wagging the dog the other way so often, right? I mean, it's just what people do becomes who they are and everything that they do. It drives it all. I mean, gosh, and I've been there. It's easy to get caught up in it, but you know, that is a level of, um, gosh, what is I want to say franticness. What's the,
Yeah. Chaos.
what's the adverb on that? Yeah, but
Yeah. Chaos, maybe.
right. So that's that level of chaos that is easy to fall into and live in for a long period of time without that sense of direction. And that really comes from that lack of certainty.
It does. And what's weird about the Dave is there's a Joe Dispenza is a great guy to study. He's a little hard because he's very heavy-minded thinking.
Hmm.
But that frantic, that chaos, it elicits emotion and releases hormones in your body. And in a weird way, when you do that over and over and over and over, your body becomes addicted to that, like
Yeah.
any other addiction. And so you could be having a perfectly great day, and your body's gonna be like, oh, it's time for a little chaos because that's when I feel the most normal.
Yep. Yep.
And all of a sudden you got chaos, right? It's kind of self-fulfilling. And so acknowledging what you do is really important because you've built the opposite of it. You've got boundaries, you're connected to your why. Part of your why is that time with Kristen and your family, and it keeps you in between the lanes. And then having your structure also helps with that. But if you live in the chaos, it does become your norm.
Yeah.
And a little primitive brain will make you do more.
Yeah, you have to detox from it like a junkie. I mean, it's right. It's
Yes.
painful. I went through, I was blessed to have a really fun executive role at EXP, and I went through 5 years of working 147 hours a week with nonstop chaos. And when the timing was right to be able to step away from that, and partially because of that, right? It was great to be a part of, but it was you know, you can't say yes to all of that without saying no to a bunch of other things. And at some point,
Correct.
okay, you're out of balance too long. And so stepping away from that and trying to reprogram it, I it your brain is broken for a little while. You have to rewire your brain because that was I would wake up and immediately feel like I'm supposed to be in the middle of running a sprint or something, and I was sitting there, and it felt yeah, there's that sense of unease.
There is, and it's I talk about this a bit. It's a project I'm working on about we get conditioned to think that that's the definition of success.
Mm, mm,
When I left my previous coaching company I was at, I had 45 clients. And then when I launched reTHINK, I didn't have 45 clients.
mhm.
And kind of like my body was like, oh my God, you're a failure because you were judging based on the more, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that you did brilliantly in your transition was you looked at what's the right more, like what
Mm,
is the right
mhm.
more to do?
Yes.
And you eliminate a lot of that noise or the chaos. And the magical thing about that is once you do that, you all of a sudden have space for great things to show up,
Yeah.
right? You get out of the chaos and you've got time and space for things to show up that will enhance your life in your business. So it's like uh, doing it is the best cleansing, but it takes a level of confidence,
Yeah.
and it takes a minute to go, that was great in that position or at that time,
Sure.
but I'm in it right now. I got to
Yeah.
get out of that chaos.
Yeah. And I think, from I'm just going to keep keying in on the word certainty, right? But that's a level of certainty on some things. Um, it's not always the norm for the world, for society, or what have you, right? So if everyone's using their own yardstick on how to measure success, and that's not your success, it can be hard to kind of fight against that and to set your own. And that's why, so our organization, which came down to the mission for Kristen and I, is called Fund Your Reasons, right? The Fire Partners community, right? So fund your reason. The first step in funding your reason is understanding what your reason is, right? And that's the key. So we take our group through this exercise on a regular basis to go through every year the mission, the vision boards, and creating personal mission statements and everything else, and saying, hey, okay, forget your business. The business is the way you fund it, right? Everything we're doing is a personal mission statement, right? It's really understanding your vision for your life. Who are you becoming? Who's the person you want to become? What's the life you're trying, like, what's the legacy you're looking to leave?
Yes.
Who are the people you want to impact? How do you want to impact the world around you? What's the footprint you leave when you're gone? Let's figure that out first, no matter how big it is, and then let's go figure out how to fund it. The team, you and I both came from an environment where there was kind of a one size fits all prescription for team building, and it was
Yes.
very much a bigger is better mentality. And so it was the race to get as big as possible and to do all this stuff and leverage seventh level and all of those things. That might not be the team that everybody needs to be fulfilled, both
Right.
financially, time, emotionally, and all of that. What is the business model that aligns best with how you want to live every day and what goals you have? And then go build that.
Yes. That's beautiful because when we do compare, or use somebody else's goals or their success as our measuring stick, it can be really detrimental because you're just doing more for the sake of doing more.
Yeah.
And I love what you said when I remember I was first introduced the concept, know your why. And it used to drive me crazy because I'm like, big why, little why, all this why stuff.
Right.
And finding somebody just put it in perspective, focus on four things. What's the impact on you? What's the impact on your family and friends? What's the impact on your team? And what's the impact on your legacy? The easiest way to come up with your why. So I know when I'm working towards my goal, the impact it has on me as a person, on my family. My friends are part of my family, the team I lead, and the legacy I'm going to leave behind. And, keeping that in focus versus, well, Susie's got a coaching company and she has 200 clients and you only have, no, I'm focused on that impact piece. So I love that you do that with your team because that piece gives your brain some comfort in knowing where we're going.
Yeah.
You don't always have to know how, but it's like, okay, that's the end game. Now I know where to focus and what to help you, the human, do to get there. So I love that you do that. And that's the big piece of certainty.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, you're piecing a bunch of things together for me, which is great. I'm running out of room on my page to write notes sideways now over here.
Awesome.
No,
Awesome. Yeah.
this is really great, and it's so congruent with with the approach that we take. And I think just putting words matter and putting words to them helps people understand a vague concept, right?
Yep.
Being able to understand
Got
it,
it.
and I think certainty is I love it. I love it. That's I mean that is such a key approach because without that, you're going to be standing on the edge of the sidewalk, thinking about,
Love that.
listening to everything, you know, before stepping into uncertainty, which is
Yep.
funny because you have to have certainty to make the decision, but you also have to embrace the unknown, which is some uncertainty, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Even though the sign's flashing walk, you're stuck on the curb. I'm going
yeah.
to steal that from you because that is such a great analogy.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And
Yeah. So,
surrounding yourself with good people,
yeah.
coach, spouse, friends, whatever it is, business partners, I would always say, because my personality has always tended to be like, I'm gonna run into the street, right?
Yeah.
And so
Me too.
sometimes, when a bus is coming, and
Yeah.
and so, partners have like kind of grabbed me by the collar and stopped me from stepping off the curb in front of the speeding bus. But by the
Yes.
same token, sometimes they're in the road and they're frozen, not making decisions and not moving forward. And I have pushed them forward out of the way of the oncoming bus, right? And it's that push and pull of those right partnerships,
Yes.
that help you take smart action. Because some people go, I have no problem with this. I run forward all the time. I just keep running into brick walls or getting hit by the bus.
Yeah. I get dust off every once in a while. So,
Right, right, right.
yeah, the right partnerships, coach, mentors, accountability partner, whatever you have, certainly the right organization can help. So,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome.
Do you have any thoughts? And we're down to the last couple of minutes. Do you have
Yep.
any thoughts on the people who are, because some people are going to be overthinkers, right? So you have that group over there, and they need that certainty. They're the ones hanging out on the curb, one toe hanging over, but afraid to take the step. And then there's the people like maybe more like you and me, where we're constantly just running off the curb into the buses. So, but there's a mentality behind that group of people as well that constantly run forward without maybe thinking through it as well until it becomes a learned behavior. But
Yes.
the jumping off the curb and running forward without thinking it through, that's an avoidance too. Because sometimes if we stop and think about it, it might stop us from making the decision, which in some cases is smart to not do certain things or not go in certain directions. And we don't want someone to tell us that. We want to be able to do it anyway.
Yep.
So in this, how is the process beneficial for someone like that?
You know, I equate it to, we like to do more for the sake of more to feel like we're doing the right thing. So that's sometimes is me like just run, like going towards it. And when I started to identify that that was a reaction, that wasn't always the best reaction. And I was just chasing things for the sake of thinking if I just did this or I just got that, I'd be, more successful. When I actually sat down and kind of wrung out the sponge and said, what's the right more? Like, I'm always going to be growing. I'm always going to want to do more. But what's the right more? And what am I doing right now for the sake of more that's not serving me, running into the bus, doing whatever? And I trusted the process and I eliminated that. It changed. So if you're that person that's just constantly running towards more, ask yourself, is it the right more?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Right? And it's actually, yeah, that doing less can get you more. So yeah, that's what I would say to do.
Love it. I love it. So that ties into something I've
Perfect.
always heard was more like a laser, less like the sun. Right? The sun is super powerful. It's more powerful than a laser, but it shoots out in every direction, right? I mean, it's omnidirectional with that going out there. So we can be out in the sun and not burn to a crisp or anything else like that. But a powerful laser can cut through steel because it's
Yes,
focused in one direction. So
that's
you take all
beautiful.
that energy and you focus it on the right things, and it becomes much more powerful energy versus just frenetic insanity.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
it.
Man,
That's it.
Tony, I can't let time absolutely flew by. I could keep
It
talking to you
did.
for like 4 more hours. Hopefully, you'll come back and we'll do this again.
Absolutely.
Because
Thanks
this
for
is
having me.
great. I know you're writing books and everything else, so maybe when that's finalized, we'll get you in and you can explain some of the stuff you've learned through putting that together. Would be awesome.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna drop links when this goes out for where you could go find Tony if you have some more questions for him. You want to see what he's doing. Check out Rethink Coaching. Super powerful. Oh man, I hope to be hanging out with you again soon.
I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony.